Hello, Professor Morgan here, showing you how to do the source chart assignment in English 111 at Johnson Community College. The instructions are basically down here, and you can be really intimidated, like, what is going on? Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this. Also, the time and effort you put into the source chart will save you a lot of time when you do the research essay, which is in Module D. Save yourself time and headache and all sorts of things by actually paying attention to what we're doing. What you're going to do for this assignment is that you're going to fill out this source chart template document. So when you click on that, it gets you this Word document here. Okay, and you're like, okay, but what do I do with that? There's a lot of stuff here. What's going on here? Okay, well, before we can kind of get into that, let's talk about this is about doing research. And so in the previous assignments, you were taught how to find sources and do stuff like that. So I'm going to show you a kind of some steps that'll help you along the way here. So let's say the topic I decided to study is on autism and communication difficulties. Okay, that's just something that I'm interested in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and search this, and then say I look through these different sources, and I like the gov. Okay, so .com, com is like short for commerce. Okay, so that means they can make money off of it. Government, net is, I don't know what net stands for, network, I guess. Education, edu. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look at this one right here, this communication difficulties. Okay, so I'm going to click on that one, and then I would read through it and say, okay, this actually has some really good information that I think I can pull from. I mean, the full document is like right here, okay, or actually somewhere. Anyway, but let's just say for giggles here, this is the article I want to use. Okay, now I need to, when I go back and I look at the source chart assignment, okay, I need to put in the MLA works cited citation for the source. I need to put that right there. Well, how do I do that? Okay, well, depending on the document, where am I? Hello. There we are. Okay, it has a cite button, but sometimes that will do what you need to do. Sometimes it won't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to copy the name of this article here. Okay. I'm going to just copy that. Hit Control C. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to use Scribner's MLA citation generator. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using this one. Because again, you're not cheating here. It's just saying, hey, look, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find that article. I'm going to paste the article there, and then let's see what we can find. Hit enter. And it's looking, and it's like, okay, well, let's see. I found this one here. 11 Fox, Zenith. Okay, Nelson, let's see if that's the one that's got. Hey, that's a beautiful thing. Okay, so then I want to go ahead and cite this one. So I'm going to hit the cite button for this one. Okay, and then right down here is the citation that I want to use. Okay, because we do have the name of the author. It's 11 et al. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just kind of copy that to the clipboard, and then when I go back to the source charts template, I'm going to just go click here. Actually, just click there. Come on, behave yourself. And then I'm just going to paste that in, and boom. There is my MLA citation right there. Okay. For the source genre, again, when we look for the instructions of what does that mean, when we go back to the instructions, we come down here. Okay, source genre. This may include, but not limited to, peer-reviewed journal articles, newspaper articles, online articles, magazine articles, whatever. So this is going to be an online news article. Okay, or an online. It's not really a news article as much as it's I would say it's a, what would that be? Let's take a look at it again. This is from Science Direct. Yeah, I'm going to say that's more of like an online research article. Sure, that's what I'll just put. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. Say online research article. Gosh, article. Yeah, my spelling is got everything to be desired. Okay, and then what kind of is this popular? Is this scholar? Is this trade? I did find it from Google Scholarship. I'm going to say it's scholarly. Usually because it didn't come over from a .com thing. Okay, now under evaluation, what am I supposed to do there? Well, let's take a look. Evaluation, okay. Regardless of the genre type, you should use only sources you know are reliable. How do you know this source is reliable? Okay. And then, really this is where you can kind of just say, well, look, it's, when I found this from, you can just type in, I'm not going to fill out the whole form here, but I would say something along the lines like, I did, I looked onto Google Scholar, and it looks like it, it's coming from a credible website, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. And now, so that's kind of the evaluation of like, why is that credible? Okay. Now the summary sentence. Okay. So compose in one sentence a summary of the entire source that includes the author's name, the title of the source, the genre, and the central points and thesis in your own words. So you're paraphrasing this. Okay. And here's some examples of you could do that. Okay. So again, you are graded on making sure that you include, again, these things, the author's name, the title of the source, the genre, and the central point of the thesis, okay? Because again, it's like, what is this article saying about autism and communication disorders? Okay, so that's the summary sentence. So make sure that when you fill that out, that goes there. So the evaluation is like, this is how I know it's a credible source. Credible? Oh my gosh. Fingers don't fail me now. Okay, and then those 4 items in your one sentence. Okay. All right. So now I've got a source. I know where it's, scholarly. Good gravy. Okay. Now I've got to find quotes. Okay. Now, the quotes that I'm going to find is, as I look through the article, these are things that I'm going to use as I'm looking for research that's going to back up, like something that's interesting. It's like, hey, well, I found this connection. So let's just say for giggles, let's go back to this web page here. And let's say that we found, and again, the quote should be no more than 1 to 2 lines. Okay. So let's say, this is a good thing. At approximately 10 years of age, boom. Let's just say that's the quote we're going to use. Okay. So I'm going to just copy that, and I'm going to go back to my source chart, and I'm actually going to just paste it in. So that's the direct quote from the article. Okay. Now, the next thing it wants me to do is to paraphrase the quote. So basically, I'm going to read through this, and in my own words, basically restate what this says in my own words, okay? And that's what paraphrasing is. And again, we have lots of resources earlier in this module that show you how to paraphrase. So there's that. And then, okay, we'll just call just for the sake of fun here. Okay, and then now it wants you to integrate and cite the quote. So again, this is stuff that we've been learning about how to do. Okay. One element that shows, actually we'll do it, no element, let's call this one study shows a connection between autism and autism. Okay, believe it or not, I am an associate professor of English. I just can't spell. That's the dyslexia in me. Okay, autism and communication disorders states. Okay, and then I'm going to actually have this whole quote. So I'm going to take this whole quote right here, copy that, and then I'm going to integrate this. Okay, now for MLA formatting, we get rid of that period at the end because we're not done, and then we need to put in the MLA citation. So in this case, it's Levin et al. Okay, so it's the last name of the author. In this case, it's Levin, but there's more than one there's more than one author here. So we can just put Levin et al. Okay. And put a comma there. Okay, and then close quoted part Boom. Okay, so now we have integrated and cited this quote. Okay, and again, we may have more information like how does it connect or whatever. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is synthesize the quote. So basically, this quote is leading to the bigger thing. The bigger question is there a connection between autism and communication disorders? And maybe as you're doing research, you can find out what kind of communication disorders are most common with autism or whatever. Again, this is just an example of a something you could research, right? But then the synthesizing of the quote is basically, well, let's see what the actual assignment says, because I know what I would say. Okay, so synthesize. Finally, explain how this quote relates to your thesis and or your research question. So if your research question is how does autism connect with communication disorders, you can then synthesize. That means to take and analyze or kind of say, hey, this is how it connects. You're taking the information and you're kind of processing it and saying this is how it connects. Okay, and it's like this provides evidence that people with those who have autism can have these types of communication disorders as noted in this specific example, whatever. Okay, and again, there's more information about how to synthesize there. Okay, so you're like, all right, okay, so far so good. So we're going to do synthesize that. So again, this is just to kind of help you kind of wrap your brain around it. Okay, and then what you do is you find another quote, okay, from this same source, okay, and then you just rinse and repeat. So you just do those same things where you're going to quote, paraphrase the quote, integrate and cite the quote, and then synthesize the quote. And you're like, man, this is a lot of work. Yes, but here's the thing. Okay, the next thing you're going to be doing is that you're going to write a source paragraph. Now, this source paragraph is you're going to actually incorporate these two quotes in your paragraph. And this would be like a paragraph that you would write for your research essay. And here's a hint, folks. You could actually use this in your research essay, these paragraphs that you create here. Now, you may need to adjust them and, freshen them up a little bit during the revision process, but you can really do a lot of the work for your research essay right now. So your source paragraph really basically lets you practice writing a full paragraph where you're integrating these two quotes. Now, again, they don't have to be exactly direct quotes. They can be, paraphrase quotes, okay? There's several different ways you can integrate quotes or information from a source, but you need to make sure you let us know where the source is. So there's that. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you is that there is an example of a completed source chart right here. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So this is an example of a completed source chart. So you'll notice that they've done all this information, okay? And there's their source paragraph where they integrated the two quotes into their paragraph. Aww. Okay, now you get to do that 3 times. So you find 3 different sources, and do the same thing, okay? Now you're like, 3 different times? Yes, but for your research essay, you need to do a total of have 5 to 7 sources for your research essay. Right now, we're just having you find 3. Now you don't have to do a source chart per se for all 7 sources or for all 5 sources or anything like this. This is just helping you understand how to do the process, and then help you understand the things you're looking for when you're doing these are things. So again, a completed source chart assignment has all this information filled out, okay, for 3 different sources. And again, they need to be 3 different sources. They can't be the same source again with 2 more different paragraphs. 3 different sources. And you're going to then put this into here and then submit the whole thing as the document. And again, this is going to help you. The more effort and time that you put into this right now, again, will save you time with your research essay. So that is the source chart. Yeah, that's the source chart assignment. Again, there's your template. There's your example. Here's more details on how to do it. Okay. And so this is one of the bigger assignments and one of the more challenging ones, but it's also the one that's going to probably help you the most, really kind of connect the dots for how to do research and how to integrate it into a paper moving forward. And that's a skill that you'll use in a lot of college classes. Plus, it'll help you with your critical thinking skills, which you'll use for the rest of your life. All right, and there you go. Thanks.